this being not a public meeting, but an informal get-together of seekers of light, aspirants to a higher consciousness, I feel it will be appropriate for me to speak on a theme that will be of common interest and perhaps of utility to most here, and that is about meditation. Meditation is a word which has acquired so many connotations, so many usages, including relaxational exercises. But what we mean by meditation in the context of spiritual life is an attunement of our mind, of our consciousness with the ideal or the object which we want to realize. Normally, our mind is spread in 1,000 directions. It is like more or less a turnpike where there is traffic from all sides, traffics of thoughts, of ideas, very few of which are ours. Mostly they are coming from elsewhere, crowding our mind. We keep aside certain timings, periods, to withdraw our mind from these wanderings and focus it on something we want to realize, understand, and keep our whole being, our entire consciousness tuned to it. And for that, we first sit in one place, not necessarily sit in a cross-legged position. It's not a must. We should learn and find out which position is natural, is convenient, which makes us feel at ease with our body. Usually, when we sit for a while, the body gets restless. The normal body has a certain basic equation with the life energy that flows into it. There is movement, rest, various poses of the body. But when we sit for a while continuously, that ratio between the energy that flows into the body and the rate at which the body uses up that energy changes. So there is restlessness in the body. The limbs move. We feel like moving our fingers. We spill the energy. So it is necessary to find a poise in which we can sit for a considerable time forgetting our bodies. For some, a cross-legged position may be good. For some, sitting on a chair like this may be good. For a few, even a standing or a walking position may be good. Sri Aurobindo used to say that walking was his favorite asana. Asana is a Sanskrit word for a right position in which one is at ease for spiritual concentration. So each one has to find out and fix a position which should become natural. The only condition is that one must sit, one must be erect. The spine must be erect, so that whatever human energies ascend during our prayer, concentration, meditation, and whatever divine energies, the higher energies flow into the body, there should not be any obstruction which takes place if the body were to be in a stooping position or a crooked position. One must have an erect, the chest, the nose, and they must all be in a straight line. That's the only requirement that is asked of one who wants to meditate. Next, one must observe one's breath. Normally, people breathe very irregularly, and the kind of breathing is intimately connected with the state of mind. If the mind is restless, if there are too many thoughts, ungoverned, the breathing is either fast or irregular. By regularizing the breath, by which I mean taking deep breaths as slowly as possible, equalizing the in-breathing and the out-breathing, say for about half a dozen times, the mind comes under control. The thoughts get into a focus, and there is a certain calm of which one becomes conscious. The third step is to focus the mind, to centralize the various faculties of the mind on the object of meditation. It may be a beautiful form, a pleasant sound, a thought, an idea, whatever, representing God or the higher consciousness on which we are centered. Once that becomes the object of focusing of the mental energies, that is called concentration. In the very nature of things, this concentration cannot go on for a long time. So the next step is to relax, to let the mind, the mental energies flow on that theme, working out that theme. That is, you let the thoughts dwell upon the chosen object without distraction. gradually a state arrives when you forget yourself and gradually you lose yourself in the object of meditation, and that is called at-one-ment or trance, or the beginnings of what we call in Sanskrit samadhi. Samadhi means an equal poise, undisturbed. It is a usual experience, however, that once you close your eyes, there is an invasion of thoughts. We imagine that thoughts come when we meditate. It's not so. Thoughts are always there. Only we are too occupied, preoccupied with so many things to take notice of the thoughts that rush through us. When we sit quiet, there is an opportunity for us to see the thoughts. There are 3 or 4 ways of dealing with this distracting flow of thoughts. One is to let the thoughts flow without interruption. Only one must not participate in the thoughts. Just observe. This is called self-contemplation. All the thoughts that flow go on revealing things in oneself, around oneself, which need to be corrected, which need to be set right. And if one does not join the thoughts, participate in the thought movement, slowly that movement slows down and one day comes to a standstill, leaving the mind absolutely vacant. The second way is to treat each thought as it comes as an intruder, as an outsider, and shut it out. It is a very laborious and a strenuous process. That is the shortest way of creating a vacant mind. There is still a third process, and that is to ignore the thoughts. If the thoughts come, they come. We don't need to fight with the thoughts. It is rightly said that interest is the basis of concentration. So if I have interest in a particular thing, object, the bulk of my mind is turned towards that. Only the surface mind is left to deal with the thoughts that come and play about. This does not interfere with the main concentration of the mind. It is like myself and yourself having a certain communion of thoughts. We hear the noise of the fan, but it doesn't interfere. It doesn't distract us from our transaction. So we have to learn to centralize our attention, leaving the surface consciousness to deal with the thoughts. This leads in due course to what is called bifurcation of consciousness. A part of consciousness mechanically dealing with routine matters. But the main part, always aloof, always held in silence, in quiet, watching, guiding, overseeing. This is the first step towards what may be called liberation from nature, liberation from the customary rounds of nature. One may adopt any of these methods or a combination of them as it suits. It is also a traditional method. When the thoughts become too many, you just open the eyes. Keep the eyes open, but continue the meditation. When the eyes are open, you don't particularly look at anything. You see, but don't look. There is a particular, what is called posture in the tantras, where they describe both the eyes are open. There is not the batting of the eyelids, and one is in union, identity with the divine cosmic consciousness. Whether the eyes are shut or open, it is immaterial. This meditation is a technique, is a process. It is not an end in itself. And this meditation is intended to open our consciousness either to the deeper ranges of our being, where there is our soul, the divine spark, the divine entity in each individual form, or the consciousness is held open to the higher ranges of our being, from where intensities of knowledge, peace, light, bliss, they flow. In our perspective, God, the divine consciousness, is everywhere. There are no such areas as heaven and hell in the geography of the cosmic map. Wherever there is life, wherever there is movement, wherever there is form, there is God. Each form is an embodiment of God. And meditation, spiritual quest is to learn to recognize the presence of the divine reality, God, everywhere around us. But it is always easier to first feel and recognize the divine presence in oneself before one can feel it around. One must start with the faith that the divine presence is there in the chamber of the heart. It is compared to a cave of the heart. Because when one meditates, concentrates, the experience of all the mystics all over the world down the ages is the same. As you plunge inside, the passage gets narrower and narrower. The walls shrink, and you pass through a particular passage, which appears to be dark. It is where you lose contact with the outer consciousness, and then you begin to feel the presence of the divine within yourself, not always in the same form. It reveals itself in forms that are appropriate to the seeking, to the mind, to the bent of the soul of each person. Some, as they near the depths, may feel a peace, a tremendous peace which cannot be disturbed. Some may feel a strange lightness, a sweetness oozing from the depths of the being. That sweetness culminates in inundating love, waves of love, rushing out and enveloping everything, everybody around. Or one may feel a strange warmth and a light beginning like a flame, gradually expanding. Or one may see it in a form in which one is used to worship God. Whatever form one conceives of Him and worships Him, in that form the reality, the divinity reveals itself. Meditation is a process to enable this access to one's own reality, one's own depths. It is always advisable to keep certain fixed timings each day, never more than half an hour at a stretch, because thereafter it becomes mechanical, till one is able to keep a certain vigilance, an awakened concentration, 15 minutes to 30 minutes, preferably in the morning, at dawn and at dusk, when the active energies in nature are still asleep, still dormant, and nature cooperates with you in getting into silence, into a calm. It may not be possible for all to find this period convenient, but whatever period suits, it must be a regular period, because there is a cycle of time. Each day in the cycle of 24 hours, the time that you set apart for meditation and sit for that, there is a helpful presence waiting for you to do the meditation. After this meditation, it is most important that the attitude which one has during meditation, the feelings of kindness, compassion, purity that one has during that period must be prolonged as long as possible in active life. The meditational attitude has to occupy more and more time, stretches of time during our active waking hours. Meditation should provide a helpful background for us to become conscious more and more conscious of what we are doing, increasing the quantum of consciousness, so that all the 24 hours there is a growth, there is an effortless increase of our consciousness in the deeper or in the higher dimensions. These are some of the few thoughts that I thought it fit to share with you, and if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask.
Friendly attitude toward the kinds of experiences that sometimes come in meditation, such as visions or other kinds of phenomena which could be a little disturbing sometimes. I don't mean really lower vital vibrations, but something that seems to be of a higher nature and yet is phenomenal, that is either in the form of a light or a color or maybe something like this. Is it wise to take a friendly attitude for these things and experience them and yet remain detached? Or is there ever a time when there's danger with these kinds of experiences?
I think your question itself contains the answer. When these experiences come, it is a wise rule never to interfere with them, with your mind. Don't try to analyze them there at that time. Don't try to anticipate what is going to happen next. Let it take place, and you should observe objectively and vigilantly. Not try to interpret it even after that. The meaning reveals itself. Each experience that takes place in meditation is a kind of a finger impression of a higher force of consciousness that works in you. The subtle range of experience opens. The subtle hearing may open and you may hear sounds, beautiful music. The subtle sight may open and you may see various forms, geometrical figures, colors. The subtle sense may open and you may feel some impacts. But these are all normal, natural, and they should be allowed to take place without stopping them or interfering with them. There is no danger unless one wants those experiences to come again and again and indulges in them. This is what is called indulgence in experience, thinking that they are realizations. These experiences are so many windows opening into the subtler ranges of the being. There is no danger, provided one knows that these are natural phenomena that take place when the consciousness broadens or deepens or heightens. It is intended to be a regular way of life. It shouldn't matter where you are, because the basic feature of this practice is to become conscious, to remain conscious and increase the quantum of consciousness in your activities. So whether you go by tram or train or plane, or whether you work and type or any kind of activity, that awareness of yourself, doing things, pouring out energies and offering them to God, converting thus the entire day and night into occasions for pouring yourself to something higher, that is sadhana. And it does not require that you should go to a hermitage or a hilltop or an ashram or a monastery. Though one may, just as in these busy cities, people here I find they have what is called weekends. They go to different places and they think that they forget the other things and they think they have relaxation. Similarly, occasionally when it is possible, one may go to certain retreats and have a kind of release. Though my teachers always believed of retreat within oneself, not retreat to geographical areas. Because Mother said, wherever you go, you carry yourself, all your thoughts, all your problems you carry wherever you go. That you go to your forest does not free you from those problems. Perhaps you feel them more acutely in the absence of other distractions. So it should be possible. And particularly this integral yoga, integral discipline, is meant for a man in the cities, wherever he is or she is, because it embraces the whole life. It is not as something technical meant for a few people who withdraw from life and want to cancel themselves from the cosmic existence. It is intended for those who want to grow in a diviner consciousness and manifest something of God, something of the diviner qualities in life, make life more beautiful, more joyous, more harmonious. And where are you going to do it if not in cities like this, which give the challenge? Maybe 19% of the people may not care, may not recognize, but one can always build like this nooks and corners of peace, of light. And they have a way of spreading, like waves. That's the way to transform or change the world. Not from the top, but from within. So, we need to have centers like this, centers of meditation, centers of study, where maybe half a dozen seekers meet regularly, share their vibrations, thoughts, and create certain small magnetic fields where the force of peace is always attracted. And I have known where such centers are functioning, sensitive people passing on the road, they have looked round, there is something strange in somewhere. There is something of peace here. How do they say that? So it is possible. And it should be integrated with life. Yes?
Since the experience of life, make a difference to one's livelihood. Economic scheme, one can do something which is based perhaps in an old way, ignorance, as opposed to, let's say, working with solar energy or working with oil or working with liquor and steaks or working with bean sprouts. What's the meaning or the importance of one's livelihood in relation to one's spiritual practice?
A person who has spiritual aspirations must choose, try, if he has the choice, a field of activity, field of experience, field of growth, which is congenial to his spiritual seeking. What you said, working in liquor shops, nightclubs, gambling casinos, certainly that is not going to increase one's purity of aspiration or easiness of meditation. But the other activities of which you spoke, the gardening, cultivation, or any other kind, if one has the choice, one has to choose. One has to relate the outer situation to the inner need.
I think translating the economics, there's so much is not based upon the light.
Yes.
Trying to put that into surviving in the world in a context, into only in without a light.
It's difficult because the present organization of the world is on ignorance and falsehood. So whoever wants to harbor some light and consciousness, he immediately meets with the opposition, resistance and struggle. But that's the price, I suppose, one has to pay. And when one pays the initial price, things slowly turn in one's favor. But an initial period of struggle to test one's sincerity has to be gone through by everyone. But things change thereafter. Yes, we are entering the beginnings of a new age around the corner, about 2000 AD, and I do think the 80s will see more of changes in the world, outer and inner, than the 70s. Because most of the old institutions based upon old ideas and old truths are disintegrating, including political institutions. And the human mind, higher mind of humanity, has already taken leave of the past. New things have not yet formed. Fresh minds are still feeling their way. But there is a vast experimentation going on. The interest in what I would call futurology is tremendous. That shows that something new is in the offing. And I would describe the new change is the evolutionary development of man, of human consciousness, into something beyond the intellect. The spiritual transformation, which certainly does not negate the technological development of man, but includes it, giving it a direction, contains that development, and utilizes it for the growth of consciousness over the entire world. The entire world is not going to be reached through our old classroom methods of education and textbooks. Mother always felt that technology will give the answer, will give the means, the TV, the film, to make a visual impact on the millions and millions in the underdeveloped countries who will never learn to read and write as you and I do. For them, visual impact. We are still in the, what I may call, the kindergarten of the new age. But the large awakening of interest in spiritual values all over the world is symptomatic of the change that is slowly creeping over the mind of man. I am an optimist, and I feel the future of the world is bright. Man has come to stay. He is the only creature on earth who has shown capability of housing and embodying higher and higher forms of consciousness without having to break his form. Man is adaptable. Man is flexible. And nature and God will not allow man to die. Appearances are deceptive. All these dangers and crisis situations, well, they are all there, and they are intended to awaken man to the gravity of the hour. But progress is always made through minorities, through a few individuals. So one should not expect that the entire city of New York will one day come and pray for a new consciousness. It will never happen. But the intelligentsia, the elite of those who think and feel, if they express these things in their music, in their arts, in their writings, in their thoughts, that is enough. Gradually it will percolate. It will impose itself. After all, even the present mental civilization of man, how far has it reached? If you go to the certain jungles in Africa, in Asia, where are your textbooks? Where is the intellectual awakening? They still live in primitive conditions. So there will be always grades in humanity, from the most primitive to the most enlightened. And one more grade is being added now of the spiritual humanity, which is something more than religion, more than tradition, but something psychological.